context. This is very important concept. This is the building blocks for understanding the DAX part. Okay, for the entire DAX, this is the the fundamental building blocks. So what is evaluation context? It is nothing but the set of filters applied to a DAX expression when it is calculated. Set of filters. You just think that way. Okay. Next one is the environment in which a DAX formula is evaluated. And that is what your the 1 second. I don't know why it takes this much of time. For example, look here. I have when you drag and drop a sales column. For example, you just drag and drop a sales column into a table visual or matrix visual. Initially, it will give you only the total sales, right? It gives you only the total sales. Along with that, when you drag and drop a text column, it gives you the, in this case, a location column, right? So these are text data, right? In this is what happens. It gives you the breakdown of sales by location. It gives you the breakdown of sales by location. It gives you sales, the sales by location breakdown. And in this case, breakdown of sales by category, it gives you here. Okay. But if you see the total amount, both of them remain same. Whereas the moment when you drag and drop a text column along with the numeric column, it gives you the breakdown of that one. So in this case, the breakdown of sales amount by location, here the sales amount, the breakdown of sales amount by category. But when you look at the totals in both the visuals, it is same. But row by row, when you compare it, it is not same. Because in this case, along with the sales amount, the category column we dropped here. Hence, it gives me the the sales, the breakdown of sales by category. When you drop the location name along with the sales value, right? It gives you the breakdown of sales by location. That's always. So if you see the row by row thing, the values are differing here, right? Each row, the values are differing. 7,986 here, 2,286, everything is fine. So it is not same, right? It is not same. It is differing. So why it is differing here? Obviously, it should differ, right? So total sales, how much we made in Chennai is different from each category. How much sales we made is different, right? That is different from this one. So the breakdown of sales amount by location and the breakdown of sales amount by the categories obviously show the different value, but the total sales should be equal. But how it is possible? How it gives the moment when you drag and drop the location in here and the category here, it gives me the breakdown of sales automatically. That is because we have created a relationship between the tables. We have created a relationship between the tables. And another thing is, depends on the context, right? The environment in which you perform the calculation, right? So that is also matters here. 1 second. Right, so the environment in which a DAX formula is calculated. In this case, the environment is location. In this case, it depends on the environment. The calculation of the DAX is differing. Okay, so that is because of the environment. Okay, this is called your evaluation context. Based on the context, when you drop a location, the breakdown is differing. The sales breakdown. When you drop a category, the breakdown of sales is differing. Depends on the context. In this case, the context is nothing but category and location name. For a different context, it has to give you the different type of breakdown, isn't it? So that is what it is done. This is called your evaluation context. I will just go here and explain with some example. For example, I have a matrix visual here, and I'm going to create another matrix visual. And here, if I go and drop the sales amount, sales, yeah, and here also sales. Both of them display the same value. Fine. because I dropped only the sales column. Look here, I have dropped the sales column only, but it gives me the total sales for the entire table. That is because of the implicit measure, sigma notation. When you click on the sales column, look here, the summation is sum and the sales column decimal number, right? That's all. The default aggregation is sum. This is not the correct. You know what the Microsoft recommends is don't use the implicit measure. You can use the explicit measure. That's the reason why I created something called total sales M. This is the measure. Okay, you can give whatever the name, give some meaningful name, but before you give any name, right, you check with your coding standard document. Every project, in the case of software industry, they will give you the coding standard document. Even if they don't give it, it is your responsibility to ask them to give the coding standard document. And then what you do is you decide based on which you can come up with the names. Okay. So on the right side, sum of sales, I've used it. Sum of total sales is equal. And then this one, with the output of this one will get stored here. So here, this is a measure. The measure name is total sales. How do I create a measure? Go to click on the modeling, click on the new measure, and you do the same thing there. Okay. Okay, fine. So that's how we can create it. Okay, so I will show you with another example. In the interest of time, we will proceed. So, but in this case, what I do is I just drag and drop the same thing there along with this one. Okay. So this is a sales column, but whereas this is the explicit measure. Both the explicit measure, this is your explicit measure, this is your implicit measure, right? Both of them are showing the same value. There is not much difference. Cool. Okay. And here. And in this case, here what I'm going to do is I'm going to put country here. Category, I'll drop it here. So I can see that this is both of them are same. And here, if you see I'm going to remove the sales column here because that is an explicit implicit measure, right? I'm going to remove it. Let's use the explicit measure. I'm going to select this one. I'm going to remove the sales. Supposing I want to see the average sales. You can also make a change to your implicit measure. Click on the sales, and you can, instead of sum, you can change average. But that is not the right way of doing it, right? The default aggregation, let it be there. It's not disturb, and you can create an explicit measure, something like this. But if you see the total sales, both of them are matching. But row by row, when I compare it, it is not same. Obviously, it will not same. Depends on the number of countries. Depends on the sales you made in each and country. The breakdown, it shows accordingly, right? The breakdown of sales depends on the type of the categorical column that you use it here. So this is called your evaluation context. Based on the environment, it automatically, the formula gets switched. So in this case, the total sales same. I have used only one formula, sum of totals. That's all, right? How it gives me breakdown? Because the relationship exists between the column. For example, in the table, right? I have a dim category table. I have the sales table. You have the relationship exists between these two tables, because of which it does the filtering automatically. You remember I explained you what is filtering as part of data modeling concept. Relationship is nothing but filtering. Okay, fine. So this is called your evaluation context. Next, what we'll do is, what I will do is I will just explain you the evaluation context. Okay. There are two types of evaluation context. One is the row context, other one is filter context. We know when you create a calculated column, it does the row context. So your question is, only when I create a calculated column, does it performs a row context? How about measure? When I create a measure, using measure, can't I perform row by row operation? That is also possible, but that is not the best practice. Please note it down. The interview, they'll ask you, what are the best practices that you follow? You can tell them some kind of story, right? After I joined this project, I started reviewing my peers reporting and DAX queries. And there are some cases they've used the SumX function in the measure to perform the row by row operation. Hence, I recommended them not to use that one. Instead, use a calculated column. Whenever you perform any row by row calculation, better you can use a calculated column. Okay, because it's pre-calculated. But if you have to perform row by row operation, in that case, it's too expensive. It requires a lot of CPU effort. Okay, so hence you can use them. Okay, row context and filter context. The row context is the calculated column. Filter context, in general, right? We use it in a measure only. Okay. What are the three types of context? The row context and filter context. But that is what we have seen it a while back. We have something called query context. Query context is nothing but the combination of these two. We can say that way. Okay. As I told you, the calculated column, the calculations are done row by row. The row context is evaluated whenever an expression iterates over a table. Just give me a second. Somebody. The row context exists in calculated column and iterating DAX functions. Okay. What is iterating DAX functions? The function that ends with X. For example, count X, count AX, average X, average X. These are the functions of iterating function. And even some X we discussed, that is also an iterating function. The function that ends with X are called an iterating function. But there is an exception in the case of filter function. Yes, Priyanka. Okay, that is the festival. Right. So in the case of filter, right, there is a function called filter that is also doing the that is also called as an iterating function. Okay. The row context does not propagate through relationship automatically. What does this say? The row context does not propagate relationship automatically. For example, in your sales table, you have the list price, which is nothing but selling price. But if you want to know the cost price, if you want to bring the cost price, or if you want to make the cost price as part of your sales table, you need to do a lookup on your product dimension table. Only that table has the cost price for each product stored in it. Okay. So for each product, if you want to know the cost price, you need to do a lookup and bring in here, but the row context will not automatically detect it. You need to use a function called the related function or related table. Those are the functions are available. Do the lookup that we will learn it later. So, but these are the things you need to remember. In the interview, they ask you what is row context. You need to tell them everything. Okay. Yeah, in the case of lookup, it's a lookup value function. Correct. Lookup or lookup value function. Okay. So the row context iterates the table, but it does not filter, because it does the row by row calculation. It cannot do the filtering, but you can have the combination of row context as well as the filter context. The filter context is meant for filtering the data. Okay, what do you mean by filtering? How do you apply the filter? You know very well, as part of data visualization, we have seen slicer and filter also. As part of filter, you learned the three types of filters: visual level filter, page level filter, across the page level filter. Okay, and using this, you can apply the filter to your visuals. And you have the slicer. Using slicer also, you can apply the filter. This is what you have known, right? And again, cross highlighting. By cross highlighting, you can do the filter. And apart from this, right. So yeah, filter context is nothing but set of filters. So these are the filters known to you. Is there any other filters applies? Yes. In the case of pivot table, also the what do you mean by pivot table? Matrix visual. So these are the set of filters: row level filter, column level filter. In the case of matrix, row and column data office, right? It applies the filter. Then filter selection, slicer selection. So these are called your filter context. Don't think only the slicer selection filter selection alone called as filter context. See, context is kind of a confusing thing. Filter, you just remember filter, okay? How you can apply filter? Using slicer, you can use a filter also. But the row selection, when you select, let's say a specific row, each row, look here. In this case, what happens? So if you see here, each row, also it is applying the filter, isn't it? This is what your total sales. Out of the total sales, give me the breakup of sales here for each thing, right? It applies the filter on your, this country table is applying the filter on your sales table. All the Afghanistan related transactions will get grouped, and then it applies the sum on the sales column. And similarly, all the Albania related transactions will get grouped. In simple, in Excel file, you can apply filter, right? So you just think this is an Excel file. Here you will have the drop down, right? When you click on the drop down, and what it is, you can select the country name as Afghanistan. Rest of them unselected. Only Afghanistan will be there, and the Afghanistan, sales will get displayed here, right? Now, the same thing is happening here. Okay. So in this case, we did not write any explicit DAX function to give the breakdown of the sales by country or sales by category. This is the beauty of Power BI. It does the breakdown automatically. When you drop a text column along the numeric column in a visual, it gives me the breakdown automatically. Okay. You don't have to write any explicit function. So in this case, what happened? The row level filter is happening. For each row, it does the total sales. Albania, give me the total sales. Algeria, give me the total sales. See, Algeria under transaction would have done. You raised 100 invoices. Each and every invoice, the total sales amount, the sales amount is there. You need to add all the 100 invoices sales amount. Let's say after adding it, you get this value. Okay. So this is row level filtering is happening. And in this case, I did not use slicer, I did not use filter, but still the row level filter is happening, and column level filter is also happening. And filter, using filter, you can apply the filters, right? And slicer, using slicer, you can apply the filter. The matrix by default, it applies the filter. So these are the different sources for applying the filter, or these are the sources of filter. That's what I mentioned, following source of, these are the different source of filters that is getting applied on your data. And also DAX formula, in addition to the DAX formula. Remember that row selection, column selection, filter selection, size selection, DAX formula filters. Okay, here also the row column. So now we will work on this simple exercise. Look here, I have highlighted in a red color rectangle this sales amount. Now you tell me what is the initial filter context this particular cell. Obviously, you look at here the Hyderabad, right? Hyderabad. But this is for this value, total sales amount. For this, what is the filter context? Hyderabad. Give me the total sales in Hyderabad. The filter is Hyderabad. And similarly, Kolkata. Give me the total sales for Hyderabad is this one. So here, the highlighted value is 7,986 as a filter context for the city Hyderabad. See, the context is the one is confusing thing. It's a fancy term according to them. As a filter for the city Hyderabad, they could have mentioned directly, right? The context really confusing it. Many of the users, they get confused. So hence, to simplify you, so we are understanding, better you ignore the context. You just think filter, okay? Filter for the city Hyderabad, filter for the Kolkata is the total sales. So the filter is happening automatically. The initial filter context for the highlighted cell is only coming from the rows in the matrix. And location name equal to Hyderabad, what is the total sales? Location name is equal to Kolkata, what is the total sales? So this is called your initial filter context. The moment when you drop any categorical column, in this the categorical column is location name, it does the filtering automatically by row, okay, in this case. So behind the scene, this is what is happening, guys. For example, in this case, location name, let's say location name is a separate table, right? Location key, location name. Look at this data model. Dim location, two tables are there. Since you have one-to-many relationship, what it does is, it goes to the first record in your dim location, Bangalore, and then it groups all the Bangalore related record, and then it applies sum on the Bangalore record. And then, for example, in our case, we are interested in Hyderabad. So when it comes to the Hyderabad, what happens is it passes this Hyderabad key value to this one, location key value to this sales table. This is, so they use the fancy term, right? So in this case, the location dimension table filters or propagates the location key to your sales table. So in this case, it's nothing but Hyderabad will be sent to this table, and then it apply filter on the Hyderabad related transactions. All the Hyderabad transactions, you select it and then apply the sum. And the sum of all this Hyderabad related sales amount is nothing but your Hyderabad total sales, 7,986. That is what we are seeing. Got it? Similarly, for the other records. So Pune, when it comes to the, once it has been done, it comes to the next record, Pune. It will send a filter to your entire table, the Pune, and then it goes and group all the Pune related invoices or transaction, and it applies the sum. So that is how we arrive the Pune total sales. Got it? Not we, it it does the filtering automatically and gives the aggregation. This is what is happening behind the scene. Now, what is the filter context? Initial filter context, this is a matrix. In this case, in the row, I have used the location name. In the column, I have used the, what is that? The category name, right? So in this case, it's a category name, correct? So in Bangalore, for example, in this case, the highlighted cell, where the filter is coming from, where the location name equal to Hyderabad and the dairy put together, what is the total sales? So row and column, in this case, where it intersects Hyderabad and dairy, the 5,351 which gets intersected by the Hyderabad and dairy category. So in that case, it finds out, don't give me the total sales in Hyderabad, give me the total sales in dairy category in Hyderabad. It applies additional filter, right? Two filters are there. So that is what it tells us. This is very simple. Okay, in this case, what is the initial filter context? I have a matrix, row level. In Bangalore, give me the total sales. But don't give me total sales in Bangalore. Total sales in ice cream in Bangalore is 200. Fine. Apart from this, we have used the slicer here. So in this case, what happens? Select all the August month related data in Bangalore and in ice cream. But within that, you give me the total sales in ice cream. In August month in Bangalore, how much money we made in ice cream. So row, column, slicer. The filter comes from these three sources. These are called a set of filters. So for this one, this is the visually you can see. So this is your sales table. And since you have created a relationship, right? Current date table. And so here the August month. So, when it passes the August month to this one, it passes the Bangalore city here, it passes the ice cream. So it based on these three condition, it selects only that set of records. Select only the Bangalore records. In that record, you select only the August month data. In that, you give me in the totals is an ice cream only. Got it? So that is what is happening behind the scene. In case the interview they ask you how how it gives the breakdown automatically, that is because the relationship that we created between the tables. If you don't have the relationship created, it will not work. This one I will skip it, and you can probably take a look at my quizzes. All of you please complete the quizzes. This is also a repeated thing. And yeah, filter context filters the data. It does not iterate. What do you mean by does not iterate? Filter filters the data. The slicer, when you use a slicer, it filters the data, right? But can a slicer, whatever the filter that you applied, does it iterate row by row? No, right? That is what it is. Filter context filters the data. It does not iterate. Whereas in the case of row context, iterates the table, but it does not filter. But you can have the combination of these two. That is also possible. Fine. Next, we will proceed with that. I will show you little